My ex-wife abandoned our kids 9 years ago. Now she's back and wants to be their mother again. I honestly don't know where to start with this mess. My hands are literally trembling as I type this, but I need advice from people who might have been through something similar. 9 years ago, my ex-wife Anna walked out on me and our two kids, Noah, 6 at the time, now 15, and Lily, 4 then, now 13. No warning, no discussion, nothing. One day I came home from work and found a note on the kitchen table saying she needed to find herself, and that marriage and kids were suffocating her potential. Her friend group had apparently been filling her head with ideas about how she was wasting her prime years and needed to live authentically. The kids were devastated. Lily cried herself to sleep for months asking when mommy was coming home. Noah became withdrawn and angry, started acting out at school. Anna called maybe 5 times in the first few months, making promises she never kept about visiting. Eventually, I changed our numbers and cut contact completely because her empty promises were destroying the kids more than her absence. I spent years as a single dad, juggling my job in construction management with parent-teacher conferences, soccer practices, and trying to be both parents to 2 traumatized children. It was the hardest period of my life, but we made it work. 3 years after Anna left, Lily started having trouble in 2nd grade. Her teacher, Laura, was incredibly patient and helped her through some behavioral issues. Laura and I started talking more during pickup times and eventually, well, you know how these things go. We took it incredibly slow because of the kids. Laura never tried to replace their mother. She just loved them where they were and let them come to her naturally. 2 years ago, Laura officially adopted both kids. They call her mom now. Anna's parental rights were legally terminated due to abandonment. The kids barely remember Anna at this point, and when they do, it's not fondly. Laura is the one who taught Lily to ride a bike, helped Noah through middle school awkwardness, attended every game and recital. She's their mom in every way that matters, which brings me to yesterday. I was grilling burgers for dinner when the doorbell rang. Laura answered and I heard her voice change, confused, then protective. "Michael, you need to come here." The edge in her tone made me drop everything and head straight for the front door. And there she was. Anna was standing on our front porch. 9 years older, different haircut, designer clothes I definitely couldn't afford back then. She looked polished, put together in a way she never was when we were married. "Hi, Michael," she said, like we'd seen each other last week instead of nearly a decade ago. "I know this is unexpected, but I really need to talk to you and the kids." My first instinct was to slam the door, but the kids had heard voices and came to see what was happening. The moment they saw Anna, Noah's face went hard as stone. Lily actually stepped behind Laura and grabbed her arm. "I don't know who you think you are," Noah said, his voice cracking with adolescent fury, "but you need to leave. Now." Anna's face crumpled. "Noah, baby, I'm your mother. I know I made mistakes, but I've changed. I've grown. I want to make this right." "You're not my mother," he shot back. "Laura's my mom. You're just some woman who gave birth to me and left." Lily didn't say anything, just buried her face against Laura's side. Laura wrapped her arms around Lily protectively and looked at Anna with eyes that could cut glass. Anna started crying, saying she understood they were angry but that she'd found herself, and realized that her real happiness was with her family. She'd spent years in therapy, traveled, had relationships, built a career, but none of it mattered without us. I told her we needed to talk privately and stepped outside, closing the door behind me. She launched into this whole speech about how she knew she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, how she thought about us every day, how she'd finally gotten to a place where she could be the mother and partner she should have been. "Anna," I said, "you don't get to do this. You don't get to waltz back into their lives after 9 years and expect them to welcome you with open arms. They have a mother. Her name is Laura and she's the one who earned that title." She got defensive then, saying she never stopped being their mother, that biology matters, that Laura was just a stepmother playing house with her children. That's when I lost it. "Your children," I said. "Anna, you signed away your rights. You're legally nothing to them. More than that, they chose Laura, and Lara chose them too." She chose them every day for years while you were off finding yourself. She left after that, but not before saying this wasn't over and that she had rights. She's texted me 15 times since then, saying she's staying at a hotel in town and wants to take the kids to dinner, that she deserves a chance to explain herself. The kids are a wreck. Noah is furious and keeps asking if I'm going to let her back into our lives. Lily has been clinging to Laura all day and asked me 3 times if Anna is going to take her away. Laura is being amazingly strong for them, but I can see how much this is affecting her too. I don't know what Anna's legal standing is, if any. I don't know if I should let her see the kids or protect them from more disappointment. I don't know anything anymore. What would you do? Edit. Holy crap, this blew up. I'm trying to read through all the comments. A lot of you are asking about legal advice. I've got to call in to our family lawyer for Monday morning. To those asking why I didn't call the police, she wasn't threatening or violent, just showed up. Annoying, yes. Illegal, no. Yet. Update 1. Thanks everyone for the support on my last post. This situation is getting worse fast, and I need to vent somewhere before I lose my mind completely. First, the legal update. Talked to our family attorney this morning. Anna has absolutely zero legal rights to the kids. When Laura adopted them 2 years ago, Anna's parental rights were fully terminated due to abandonment. The lawyer was clear. She has no more legal standing than a stranger on the street. He said if she keeps harassing us, we can pursue a restraining order, but we need documentation of the harassment first. Speaking of harassment, Anna has called me 47 times since yesterday. 47. I finally answered this morning just to get her to stop. Michael, please, she said, and I could tell she'd been crying. I just want to talk to them. 5 minutes. I need them to understand that I never stopped loving them. Anna, they don't want to see you. They've made that crystal clear. That's because you've poisoned them against me. She snapped, screaming into the phone. They're children. They don't understand the complexities of adult decisions. You've had 9 years to paint me as the villain. I laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. Anna, I never had to say a word against you. Your absence spoke volumes. Kids aren't stupid. They know who showed up and who didn't. She started rambling about how she was too young when she left, how her friends convinced her she was missing out on life, how she needed to mature before she could be a good mother. Classic Anna, pretending to take responsibility while simultaneously making excuses for doing the exact opposite. I've changed, she kept saying. I'm ready now. I'm financially stable, emotionally mature. I can give them things now that I couldn't before. They don't need your things, Anna. They needed their mother, and you weren't there. The conversation went in circles for 20 minutes before I hung up, but here's where it gets worse. That afternoon, I was at work when I got a text from Anna. I'm taking Noah and Lily to dinner tonight. I don't care if you like it or not. They deserve to hear my side of the story. I immediately called Laura, who was picking the kids up from school. She said Anna wasn't there, but she'd keep an eye out. Then I got another text. At Lily's soccer practice. She looked so grown up, I missed too much. My blood ran cold. I called the soccer coach, who confirmed a woman matching Anna's description was sitting in the bleachers, not talking to anyone but watching intently. I left work immediately. By the time I got to the field, Anna was gone, but Lily was shaken. Several parents came up to me asking if everything was okay, saying the woman had been asking questions about which kid was mine and where they went to school. That night, I sat both kids down and had the conversation I'd been dreading. As you kids both know, your biological mother is back in town, I said. She wants to see you both, but you're old enough to make your own choices about this. Whatever you decide, Laura and I will support you. Noah's response was immediate and vicious. I don't have a biological mother, I have Mom. He pointed to Laura, and some egg donor who couldn't handle being a parent. I don't want to see her, talk to her, or hear about her ever again. Lily was quieter but just as clear. Why did she leave us, Dad? Why didn't she love us enough to stay? That broke my heart. Honey, sometimes adults make really bad decisions. It wasn't about not loving you, it was about her not being strong enough to be what you needed. But Mom was strong enough, Lily said, looking at Laura. She chose us even when we weren't her real kids. Laura started crying then. Happy tears, but tears nonetheless. I texted Anna that evening. The kids don't want contact. Please respect their wishes and leave town. Her response came in the form of a 10-paragraph text about parental bonds, second chances, and how I was alienating her from her children. Then she sent individual texts to what she thought were the kids' phones. They're not. I control all the family phone accounts. This morning she was waiting outside Noah's high school. The principal called me when Noah spotted her and had a panic attack in the hallway. Security had to escort her off school property. She kept saying she just wanted to talk, the principal told me. Your son was pretty upset. He kept saying, she's not my mother, why won't she leave me alone? I'm done being nice. I called Anna and told her in no uncertain terms that if she comes near my children again, I'm calling the police and pursuing a restraining order. Her response was to accuse me of parental alienation and threaten to fight for her babies. Anna, I said, you don't have babies. You have teenagers who don't know you and don't want to know you. You gave up the right to call them your babies when you walked out. She hung up on me, but the texts keep coming. Screenshots of parental rights articles, threats to expose the truth about how I stole her children, demands that Laura stop playing mother to kids that aren't hers. Laura is being incredible through all this, but I can see it's wearing on her. She keeps reassuring the kids that Anna can't take them away, but I caught her crying in the laundry room this morning when she thought no one was looking. The kids are struggling too. Noah is angry all the time, snapping at everyone. Lily has been having nightmares and keeps sneaking into our bedroom in the middle of the night to sleep on the floor beside our bed. They're both asking constantly if Anna is going to keep bothering us. I feel like I'm failing everyone. I should have been stronger when Anna first showed up. I should have protected my family better. But I also know that if I'd been too aggressive, Anna would have had the chance to paint me as the controlling bad guy. Tomorrow I'm filing a police report about the school incident and starting the restraining order process. I should have done it sooner. Anna needs to understand that she's not their mother anymore. She's a stranger who happens to share their DNA. The sooner she accepts that and moves on, the better for everyone involved. Especially my kids. Edit. Multiple people are asking about security cameras. Yes, we have them now. Installed this afternoon. Update 2, I'm shaking as I write this. What happened today crossed every line and I'm honestly scared for my kids' safety now. This morning started normally. Laura dropped Lily off at middle school while I took Noah to his high school. We thought we were being careful, varying routines, staying alert. It wasn't enough. At 11:30 a.m., I got a call from Lily's principal. Mr. Johnson, we have a situation. A woman claiming to be Lily's mother is in our main office demanding to see her. She's becoming increasingly agitated. I told them under no circumstances should Lily be brought to the office, and that I was on my way. The principal assured me they wouldn't release Lily to anyone not on her approved contact list. When I arrived, I could hear Anna screaming from the parking lot. She's my daughter, you can't keep me from my own child. I walked into the office to find Anna sobbing hysterically while a security guard stood nearby. She looked terrible, hair messy, makeup smeared. The moment she saw me, she rushed over. Michael, thank God, tell them I'm Lily's mother. Tell them they have to let me see her. Anna, I said as calmly as I could, you need to leave. Now you're scaring everyone, including Lily. I'm not trying to scare anyone, she screamed. I just want to see my baby girl. I brought her a present. She held up a small wrapped box. It's a necklace, a heart necklace that says, Mommy loves you. I've been carrying it for 3 years, waiting for the right time to give it to her. The principal stepped forward. Ma'am, I need you to understand that you're not on Lily's emergency contact list, and her father has made it clear that you're not to have contact with her. I'm going to have to ask you to leave school property. That's when Anna completely lost it. You don't understand, she shrieked. She's been brainwashed. They've all been brainwashed against me. I carried her for 9 months. I gave birth to her. Some teacher doesn't get to replace me just because she stuck around. 2 teachers quickly ushered students who had been in the hallway back into classrooms. The security guard stepped closer to Anna, who was now pacing frantically around the office. I've tried to be patient, she continued, her voice breaking. I've tried to be understanding, but enough is enough. I have rights. I am her mother. Anna, I said, you're not her mother anymore. Laura is, legally, emotionally, practically. You signed away your rights when you abandoned them. I didn't abandon them, she screamed so loudly that several people jumped. I was young, I was scared, I made a mistake, but I'm here now, doesn't that count for anything? The principal had clearly had enough. Ma'am, I'm calling the police. You need to leave immediately or you'll be arrested for trespassing. Anna's eyes went wild. You're calling the police on a mother trying to see her child. What kind of people are you? The kind who protect our students, the principal replied firmly. Anna turned to me with desperation in her eyes. Michael, please, 5 minutes. Just let me talk to her for 5 minutes. Let me explain why I left. Let me tell her I'm sorry. Let me tell her I love her. She doesn't want to hear it, Anna. She's made that clear. She's 13. She doesn't know what she wants. She's old enough to know who's been there for her and who hasn't. The police arrived as Anna was begging me to just bring Lily to the window so she could wave at her. 2 officers, both professional but firm. Ma'am, we need you to come with us, one said. Anna looked at them in shock. You're arresting me for wanting to see my daughter. We're escorting you off school property for trespassing. If you return to this school or attempt to contact this child again, you will be arrested. After she was gone, the principal and I had a long talk. They're implementing additional security measures, and Anna's photo is being distributed to all staff with strict instructions that she's not to be permitted on school grounds under any circumstances. Poor Lily had heard most of the commotion from her classroom. When I finally saw her, she was crying and shaking. Why doesn't she understand that I don't want to see her? Why can't she just leave us alone? I didn't have a good answer for that. When we got home, Laura was waiting with Noah, who'd heard about the incident. He was furious. Dad, we need to do something, he said. She's not going to stop. That evening, Lily surprised us all. I want to call her, she said quietly during dinner. Honey, you don't have to, Laura started. I want to call her and tell her myself to leave us alone. Maybe if it comes from me, she'll listen. I wasn't sure this was a good idea, but Laura and I agreed that Lily was old enough to make this choice. We set up the call on speaker so we could monitor it. Anna answered on the first ring. Lily, oh my God, baby, is that really you? Yes, it's me, Lily said, her voice steadier than I expected. I'm calling to ask you to please stop coming to my school and bothering my family. Anna immediately started crying. Baby, I just want you to understand. I understand that you left us when I was 4, Lily interrupted. I understand that you didn't want to be our mom anymore. That's not. I never stopped wanting to be your mom, You stopped being our mom the day you walked out, Lily said, and I was so proud of her strength. Laura is my mom. She's the one who helps me with homework, who takes care of me when I'm sick, who comes to my soccer games. She chose us, you left us. I'm sorry, Anna sobbed. I'm so sorry, I know I made mistakes, but I want to make it right. Please just give me a chance. I don't want to give you a chance, Lily said simply. I want you to stop bothering us and go away. We have a mom and it's not you. Anna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. If you really don't want me in your life, then I'll respect that, but please know that I love you. I've always loved you. I think about you every single day. Okay, Lily said, but thinking about us isn't the same as being there for us, and it's too late now. After Lily hung up, she crawled into Laura's lap and cried for an hour. Not sad tears, relieved tears. Like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. All of us cried with her. Final update. I wasn't sure I'd post again, but this community has been so supportive that I wanted to give you closure on this situation. 2 days after Lily's phone call, I got a call from Mercy General Hospital at 3 a.m. Anna had been brought in after what the doctor carefully described as a mental health crisis. She was found unresponsive in her hotel room by cleaning staff who called 911. The doctor who called me said she was stable but had been asking for me. She'd listed me as her emergency contact. I'll be honest, my first emotion was anger. How dare she try to manipulate us even now? How dare she try to make her poor choices our responsibility? But then I thought about my kids waking up and potentially seeing news reports about their mother's hospitalization. I needed to control the narrative and protect them from that trauma. I went to the hospital alone. Anna was awake, looking small and broken in the hospital bed. When she saw me, she started crying immediately. Michael, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I can't live knowing they hate me. I can't live knowing I destroyed the most important thing in my life. Part of me wanted to comfort her, but I couldn't. Not after what she'd put my family through. Anna, if you're genuinely struggling with mental health, you need professional help, but you can't use a crisis like this to force your way back into our lives. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know I messed up. I lost my mind these past few days. Seeing how much they've grown, how happy they are without me, it broke something inside me. They are happy, I said firmly. They have a good life, a stable home, a mother who loves them unconditionally. That should make you glad, not destructive. It does, she whispered. It does make me glad, and that's what hurts the most, knowing that they're better off without me. We talked for about an hour. Anna told me about her struggles with depression, how she'd convinced herself for years that leaving was the right choice, how she'd built up this fantasy of a reunion that bore no resemblance to reality. I thought if I could just explain myself, they'd understand. I thought love would be enough to fix everything, she said. Anna, love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice you make every day. It's showing up, being present, putting their needs first. That's what Laura does. That's what love actually looks like. Before I left, Anna made me a promise. I won't contact you or the kids again. I'll sign whatever legal documents you need. Will you tell them someday that I'm sorry and that I hope they have amazing lives? I told her I'd consider it when they're older if they want to know. Anna has been transferred to a psychiatric facility for treatment. Her sister drove up from Phoenix to handle her affairs and check her out of the hotel. I gave her my lawyer's contact information in case Anna changes her mind about staying away. The restraining order is still in place, just in case. My kids are doing better. Noah seems relieved that it's over, though he's still angry about the disruption to our lives. Lily asked if Anna was okay when I told them about the hospital, which shows what a good heart she has despite everything. Laura has been incredible through all of this. She never once made it about her, never got jealous or insecure, just focused on protecting and supporting our children. I fall in love with her more every day. We're going to family therapy to help process everything that happened. The kids need tools to deal with any residual trauma from this experience. And honestly, Laura and I could use some professional guidance on how to handle questions about Anna as the kids get older. For now, though, we're just grateful to have our quiet, normal life back. Homework battles and sibling squabbles, and Laura teaching Lily to braid her hair, and Noah teaching me about some video game I'll never understand. The ordinary, beautiful chaos of a real family. Biology doesn't make you a parent. Showing up does. Thank you all for the support over these posts. You guys have been incredible.
These delusions aren't healthy, my father told my girlfriend, defending his golden child. I chose her over toxic family. Years later, my brother was arrested. I never wanted to admit it, but I always knew something was wrong with my brother George. From the moment he could walk, there was a darkness in him, a shadow that followed everywhere he went. But nobody else seemed to notice. Not Mom, not Dad, only me. I was 7 when George killed my pet hamster. I found Peanut lifeless in his cage one morning, neck twisted at an unnatural angle. George was only 5 then. When I ran to my parents crying, they told me it was an accident, that George was just trying to play with it, that I shouldn't have left the cage where he could reach it. My fault, always my fault. That became the pattern of our childhood. George would do something terrible, I would be blamed for it. Or worse, told I was imagining things, making up stories, seeking attention. Our parents doted on George. He was their miracle baby born after 3 miscarriages. The golden child, perfect in every way. I was just there, an afterthought. By the time we reached high school, George had perfected his mask. To everyone else, he was charming, popular, the star quarterback with a bright future. But behind closed doors, he was calculating and cruel. He sabotaged my friendships by spreading rumors, stole things from my room and planted them in other people's lockers. did everything he could to isolate me, to make me miserable. I remember when I brought home my first real girlfriend, Melissa. George charmed her immediately, made me look like the awkward, less impressive brother. Then in private, told her I'd been talking about getting her drunk to finally seal the deal. She broke up with me that night, believed him without question. That's how good he was, how convincing. And still our parents saw nothing wrong. I left for college the first chance I got, put 3 states between us. Built a life where I didn't have to look over my shoulder, where I could finally breathe. That's where I met Nancy. She was everything I never knew I needed. Kind, brilliant, strong. For the first time, someone saw me, really saw me. Not as George's brother or the family disappointment, just me. We met in an economics class. I noticed her first, the way she challenged the professor's theories with real-world examples, the quiet confidence in her voice, how she never seemed to need validation from anyone else. Our first date lasted 6 hours, just talking, about our dreams, our fears, the books that changed us. By the end of the night, I felt like I'd known her my whole life. We dated for 2 years before I finally agreed to bring her home to meet my family. I'd avoided it for as long as possible, making excuses about busy schedules and distance. The truth was, I was terrified of exposing her to them. To him. The drive to my parents' house was tense, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. Nancy noticed, placed her hand over mine. "It's going to be fine," she assured me. "They're just people." But they weren't just people. They were the architects of my insecurities, the enablers of George's darkness. I should have trusted my instincts. The moment George laid eyes on Nancy, I saw something shift in him, a predatory gleam I recognized all too well. During dinner, he positioned himself next to her, his arm casually draped over the back of her chair. Too close, always too close. "You're way too good for my brother," he told her, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "What's a girl like you doing with someone like him?" Nancy laughed it off, uncomfortable but polite. I felt my chest tighten, my hands curl into fists under the table. Later that night, I found him cornering her in the kitchen, standing between her and the door. Her back pressed against the counter. Her smile was fixed and wooden. "We should get coffee sometime," he was saying. "I could tell you all the embarrassing stories about my brother that he wouldn't want you to know." When he reached out to touch her hair, I intervened, grabbed his wrist, told him to back off. He just smirked, like we were sharing some private joke. "Relax, bro," he said, pulling away. "I'm just being friendly, right, Nancy?" We left the next morning. Nancy was quiet during the drive home, too quiet. "Has he always been like that?" she finally asked. I nodded, the knot in my stomach tightening. "I'm sorry," I said. "I shouldn't have brought you there." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "It's not your fault." But it felt like it was, like I'd failed to protect her from something I should have seen coming. What I didn't know then was that George had already gotten her phone number from my mother, that he'd already started texting her. Innocent messages at first, then increasingly inappropriate, asking about her underwear, telling her he could satisfy her in ways I never could. When she blocked his number, he created new ones, called her in the middle of the night, breathed heavily into the phone when she answered. The final straw came when he sent her a picture of herself sleeping, taken through our bedroom window. We lived on the 2nd floor. He must have climbed up to get that shot. I only found out when Nancy showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m., trembling and in tears. She'd been getting calls from unknown numbers, people following her to her car after work, a dead bird left on her windshield. "It's him," she said. "I know it's him." We went to the police, but what I discovered there crushed any hope of justice. The desk sergeant was dismissive from the start, barely glancing at the evidence on Nancy's phone. He took perfunctory notes, his pen barely moving across the page as Nancy described the escalating harassment. "Sounds like a lover's quarrel to me," he muttered, not even trying to hide his disinterest. When I pressed him about the dead bird, the stalking, he leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Look, I know your brother. Captain of the football team, business degree, church every Sunday. You really expect me to believe he's doing all this?" Later in the parking lot, an older officer pulled me aside. His eyes darted around nervously before he spoke. "You should know something," he said quietly. Your father plays golf with the chief every weekend, and last month he made a very generous donation toward the department's new cruisers. My stomach dropped. The truth hit me like a physical blow. How much? I asked. The officer just shook his head. Enough. They've been told to handle any complaints about George with appropriate discretion. My advice, get your girlfriend somewhere safe. You won't find help here. That night I learned what true powerlessness felt like. How the system that was supposed to protect the vulnerable could be so easily corrupted. How money and influence could silence truth. Small towns, they protect their own. Nancy's stalking continued for weeks. George maintained his distance, but his friends were everywhere, watching her, reporting back to him, making her feel unsafe in her own skin. One night she woke up screaming from a nightmare, thrashing in the sheets, convinced someone was in the room with us. I held her until her breathing steadied, watched as the recognition returned to her eyes, as reality replaced the terror. "I can't keep living like this," she whispered. Neither could I. I confronted my parents, showed them the messages, the pictures of the dead bird, the timestamps of the calls. We sat in their pristine living room, the same couch where I'd spent countless afternoons doing homework, trying to be invisible. The same coffee table where George had once stabbed me with a pencil for changing the TV channel. The wound had needed 7 stitches. I still had the scar. My mother's face hardened as I shared the evidence. "Are you sure she's not making this up for attention? George would never do something like this." "He's always been jealous of you," my father added, though I couldn't remember a single instance where that had been true. "Maybe you're the one behind all this, trying to make him look bad." The betrayal cut deep, but it wasn't surprising. They'd always chosen him, always would. We tried once more, a family intervention. Nancy bravely agreed to face them all, to tell them exactly what was happening, how she feared for her safety, how she couldn't sleep at night. It was a disaster. George played the victim, shed tears at the accusation, claimed Nancy had been sending him suggestive messages, then turned around and blamed him when she got caught. "Check her phone," he suggested with feigned innocence. "I bet she deleted all the texts she sent me." My mother nodded sympathetically. My father glared at Nancy. "Young lady," he said, his voice cold, "I think you need professional help. These delusions aren't healthy." Nancy's hands trembled in her lap. I could feel her shutting down beside me, retreating into herself as they ganged up on her. As they did what they'd always done, protected George at all costs. We left that house knowing we would never go back, that we were on our own. The harassment escalated. George started spreading rumors at Nancy's workplace, claimed she'd been stealing medication, nearly cost her her nursing job. It was only her spotless record that saved her. I wanted to confront him directly to make him stop, but Nancy was afraid of what he might do if cornered, of how he might retaliate. "People like your brother," she said, "they feed on confrontation, on knowing they've gotten to you. The only way to win is not to play." When she was offered a position at a hospital across the country, we both knew she had to take it, that we had to leave, start over somewhere safe, somewhere he couldn't reach us. We were packing when the invitation arrived. My cousin's wedding. A family obligation that under normal circumstances I would have declined, but my grandmother had been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. This might be the last time I'd see her. "We'll go for the ceremony," I told Nancy. "Then leave before the reception, 3 hours tops." She nodded, though I could see the fear in her eyes. I promised to stay by her side the entire time, to keep her safe. Another promise I couldn't keep. The ceremony was beautiful. For a moment, surrounded by extended family who had no stake in the George mythology, I felt almost normal. Almost like the person I might have been if I'd grown up in a different home. Nancy excused herself to use the restroom while I chatted with an uncle I hadn't seen in years. I should have gone with her. Should have remembered that George never made idle threats. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Unease crept up my spine. I found them in a deserted hallway far from the reception hall. George had her pinned against the wall, his hand around her throat, her eyes wide with terror. "I told you she was mine," he hissed when he saw me. "She's always been mine." What happened next passed in a blur, me lunging at him. His fist connected with my jaw. Nancy screamed for help. And then, mercifully, people rushed in. My uncle, two of my cousins, a police officer who was a guest at the wedding. They pulled George off us, restrained him as he thrashed and spat vile accusations. For once there were witnesses. For once he couldn't twist the narrative. The officer arrested him on the spot. Assault, battery, the beginning of consequences George had avoided his entire life. My parents arrived at the police station an hour later, not to check on Nancy or me, but to bail out George. "This is all a misunderstanding," my mother insisted, not meeting my eyes. "George would never hurt anyone." "She provoked him," my father said, pointing at Nancy's bruised neck. "She's been trying to come between them from the beginning." I saw him slip something to the officer at the desk, an envelope that disappeared quickly into the man's pocket. My blood boiled. Something broke in me then. The last thread of hope that they might someday see the truth, that they might choose me just once. "We're pressing charges," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "And after this, I never want to see any of you again." My mother gasped. My father's face turned purple with rage. "You would choose this girl over your own family?" he demanded. I looked at Nancy, at her quiet strength despite everything, at the woman who had believed in me when no one else did. "She is my family," I replied. "You're just the people who raised me." We moved across the country the following week, changed our phone numbers, started over in a city where nobody knew us, where George's shadow couldn't reach. The case went to court. Despite my parents' best efforts to discredit Nancy, the evidence was overwhelming. Multiple witnesses, security camera footage from the venue. My father tried to bribe the prosecutor, was caught, faced his own charges that were quietly dismissed. Money talks even outside our small town. George received probation, a slap on the wrist that nonetheless tarnished his perfect record, his first official consequence. We got married in a small ceremony with just a few friends. No family, started building the life we deserved, one without fear, without looking over our shoulders. There were still bad days, nights when Nancy would wake up gasping for air, convinced someone was following her. Days when I'd see someone who looked like George on the street and my whole body would freeze. Trauma doesn't disappear overnight, it lingers, changes shape. But slowly we learned to manage it, to not let it control us. We bought a small house with a garden, planted roots both literal and figurative, took back the power he'd stolen from us piece by piece. 3 years passed. We had almost forgotten about them when the call came from a number I didn't recognize. My aunt called to tell me that George had been arrested again, this time for domestic violence against his wife. The details were worse than I could have imagined. His wife had been hospitalized with broken ribs and a fractured jaw. This time, there had been witnesses, neighbors who called 911 when they heard her screams. Too many people involved for it to be quietly swept away. But my father had tried anyway. My aunt told me how he'd shown up at the police station with an envelope thick with cash. How he'd cornered the arresting officer in the parking lot, speaking in hushed tones about making this go away and protecting the family name. He'd been caught on the station's surveillance cameras. The officer, thankfully from outside our hometown and unswayed by the family's influence, had reported the attempted bribe immediately. My father now faced his own charges, obstruction of justice and attempted bribery of a public official. His reputation, the thing he valued above all else, was in tatters, his law practice hemorrhaging clients by the day. That my mother had finally seen the truth, had finally left my father, was hopping to reconnect with me, too little too late. Some bridges once burned can never be rebuilt. Some wounds run too deep to heal. I wished her well but made it clear I wanted no part of that life anymore, that the cycle of abuse and enablement ended with me. Nancy gave birth to our daughter last spring. A tiny, perfect human with her mother's eyes and, I hope, none of the darkness that plagued my family tree. I look at her and make silent promises, that she will grow up knowing she is loved unconditionally, that she will never be gaslit or manipulated, that she will always be believed. When I hold her, I think about the legacy I inherited, the anger, the fear, the constant vigilance. I think about how those things shaped me, made me who I am. Some scars will always remain, phantom pains from wounds inflicted long ago, but they don't have to define me, don't have to be passed down. Some nights I still wake up in a cold sweat, George's face vivid in my dreams. On those nights I check on my daughter sleeping peacefully in her crib. I look at my wife's gentle breathing beside me, and I remind myself that we are safe, that we chose each other, that the family we built is stronger than the one I left behind. Nancy never pressures me to deal with my past in any particular way. She understands that healing isn't linear, that some days are harder than others. She just holds my hand through the difficult moments, reminds me to breathe. Last week, a letter arrived from my mother. I recognized her handwriting immediately, the perfect cursive she'd spent hours teaching me at the kitchen table. The same handwriting that had signed countless notes excusing George's absences from school. That had penned grocery lists while ignoring the bruises on my arms. I almost threw it away unopened, but something made me hesitate. Inside was a simple note, no excuses, no attempts to minimize what had happened, just an acknowledgement of the pain she'd caused, of the son she'd failed to protect, of the grandchild she'd never know. I didn't respond, don't know if I ever will, but for the first time I felt something close to peace when thinking about her. Not forgiveness. I'm not sure I'll ever get there, but recognition that she too was caught in George's web, that she too was damaged by the life she'd chosen. The shadows of my past grow fainter every day. They'll never disappear completely. That's not how trauma works. But they no longer define me, no longer control me. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Cut the poison out of your life, even when that poison shares your blood. Even when everyone tells you that family should come first, no matter what. Because sometimes family is the most dangerous thing of all. To anyone trapped in the shadow of someone like George, you aren't crazy. You aren't imagining things, and you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Find your Nancy, find people who see you, who believes you, who stands beside you when the world turns its back, and then run. Run as far and as fast as you can. Build something beautiful from the ashes of what you leave behind. I did, and despite everything, I've never once looked back with regret. The hardest lesson I've learned through all of this is that justice isn't guaranteed. Money, power, and familial connections can corrupt even the systems designed to protect us. But that doesn't mean you stop fighting for what's right. Document everything. Build a network of people who know the truth. And understand that sometimes the only way to win against someone like George is to deprive them of what they want most, power over you. For years, I carried the weight of my family's denial, wondered if somehow I was the problem, if maybe I was the one who couldn't see clearly. That's what they wanted me to believe. But gaslighting only works when you're isolated, when you have no one to reflect your reality back to you. No one says, "I see it too." The truth has a way of surfacing eventually. No amount of money or influence can keep it buried forever. My father learned that the hard way. George is learning it now. And I'm learning something else entirely, that there is life after trauma, that families can be chosen, built, protected. Those cycles can be broken. My daughter will never know the fear I lived with. She will grow up knowing her worth isn't determined by how useful she is to others, that her voice matters, that her boundaries are sacred. That is my legacy, not the broken family I left behind, but the whole one I'm creating now. And if you're reading this, wrestling with your own George, your own enabling parents, your own impossible choice, know that there is hope on the other side. It won't be easy. You'll doubt yourself 1,000 times. But one day you'll wake up and realize the shadow no longer darkens your doorway, that the voice in your head questioning your perception is growing fainter, that you are finally free, and that freedom, it's worth everything.